In today's lesson, we're going to look at more angle relationships and working with different types of diagrams and being able to determine how angles relate to each other. All right, so in this first diagram, they're asking what kind of angles are CFD and DFE. So now we have to remember it's important that an angle is defined basically on the center point. So the angle CFD is exactly in that respective order. CFD, this angle right here. Okay. So that's the angle CFD. F is the center point, and that's how you define the angle, by using the center point. And DFE. So the other angle is DFE. So these two angles right here. Now, both of these angles share a side, so we can call them adjacent. Now, we talked about in the last lesson, adjacent angles, they could possibly be complementary, which means they add up to 90 degrees, which these don't. They don't add up to that little box. Or they could be supplementary and add up to a straight line, and they don't add up to a straight line either. They form an obtuse angle. So for now, they are just called adjacent. All right, let's look at another pair of angles for number 2. So number 2, we have AFB, and DFE. Let me do a different color. DFE. So this angle and this angle right here. These are two angles, like I said, they're on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. So here are my two intersecting lines, AD and BE, and they are on opposite ends of each other. They are congruent. All right, so whatever AFB and AFB is going to be, degree-wise, that's going to be DFE. So they are called vertical angles, which are on opposite sides of each other. And we just have to know that vertical angles are congruent. That's not the that's not the angle relationship between them name-wise. We just have to know that they're congruent. Okay, let's erase this. BFC and CFE. So BFC and CFE. All right. So both of these share a common side, so they are adjacent. Also, they form a straight line. This whole angle measure right here is 180 degrees. So when that's 180 degrees, they are supplementary. So it's adjacent and supplementary. Okay. And number 4 is asking what kind of angles are BFC and CFD. So you have BFC right there, and CFD. Now these two angles, again, are complementary. They share this common side, or adjacent, I should say, adjacent. And they composed of a 90-degree angle. How do we know they composed a 90-degree angle? Because of this little red box right here. They both add up to that box, so they are called complementary angles whenever they add up to 90 degrees, because that red box means 90 degrees. Now, using in number 5, it says CFD is 35 degrees. Find BFC and AFC. So CFD right here, CFD is 35 degrees. Find BFC. Okay, BFC, how's that going to relate to it? So BFC is this angle right here. We just said that before, that these two angles are complementary. So complementary add up to 90. So all I'm going to do to figure it out is 90 minus 35, which is 55 degrees. Okay. And AFC. All right, so we have AFC. Where is AFC? Oh, AFC is this line right here. Oh, let me do a different color. AFC. Now, AFC relates to CFD in that they form, look at this, they form a straight line right here. Remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. So I'm going to figure out what AFC is. AFC, this angle, all the way around. I'm going to do 180 minus 35, since the straight line is 180 degrees, which is 145 degrees. So this whole green angle right here is 145 degrees. So again, it's important to know the terminology in relating these angles to each other and being able to figure out how to figure out the angle measures in certain diagrams. So let's take a look at a diagram and fill it out knowing our terminology. Let's look at, let's look at 13 here. Okay, so let's look at 13. So with this one, might be a little tough. We know, first of all of these angles are going to add up to 360 degrees. That's what we know. All right, so at the end, they should all add up to 360. Now, we know, okay, we have a straight line right here. Remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. So to figure out what this angle is, EOF right here, we have to take 180 minus 62, which is 118 degrees. Now, if you take a look, right across from it on the opposite end is another vertical angle, DOG. DOG right here is a vertical angle. They're on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. Here are my two intersecting lines. So since it's vertical to EOF, that is also going to be 118 degrees. Those are usually, I always try to look for vertical angles to begin with. All right, whatever's opposite each other because they're congruent and equal and easy to figure out. Okay, one last angle, right? We'll do this angle right here. Okay, now to figure that out, we know this line right here is 180 degrees. So we're going to subtract the 118 and the 32 from 180 to figure out that. So we have 180 minus 118 minus 32, which is 30 degrees. Now to double check, let's add up all my numbers. We have 30 plus 118 plus 62 plus 118 plus 32, and we get 360. So there's my whole diagram. So when you're doing these problems, guys, remember there's not one single way to do these. You can figure out your angle relationships in many different ways. Just because the way I did it is not the only way. So when you're looking at that, make sure you double check at the end. They all add up to 360. Okay, look for your vertical angles, what are across each other. Those are easy. Those are congruent. Okay, look for that box to see if it's complementary. All right, and then look also on the straight line if it's supplementary. All right, so again, use these angle relationships to help you fill out these diagrams. If you have questions in class, please let me know.